Hey NFL fans, it's almost that time again. The season's just around the corner, and you know what that means. Front offices across the league are sweating. They're up to their eyeballs in spreadsheets, trying to figure out who to pay, who to cut, and who to throw a blank check at. Today, we're diving headfirst into the absolute mayhem. We're talking about the top 10 contract decisions that'll have GMs losing sleep and fans like us glued to the headlines. These ain't your average negotiations, folks. These are the kind of moves that could shake up the entire league. So buckle up, grab your favorite beverage, and get ready for some serious contract drama. We're going division by division, starting with number 1 in the NFC East. Let's get after it. All right, first up, we're headed down to Dallas, where Jerry Jones and the Cowboys got a big old decision to make about their all-pro guard, Zack Martin. Now, this dude's a future Hall of Famer, no doubt about it. 7-time All-Pro, been anchoring that Cowboys line for years. But here's the catch, he's turning 34 this season. Now, I know what you're thinking, Pat, 34 ain't that old for an offensive lineman. And you're right, it ain't. But when you got guys like CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott coming up on their paydays, suddenly that salary cap starts looking a whole lot tighter. Martin's the heart and soul of that offensive line, but how much are the Cowboys willing to shell out to keep him in the Lone Star State? It's going to be a tough pill to swallow if they let him walk, but sometimes you gotta make the business decision, even if it hurts. This is Jerry's world, folks, and we're all just living in it. Will he back up the Brinks truck for Martin, or will he let him test the free agent waters? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure, this decision's gonna have major ramifications for the Cowboys' future. Next up, we're heading to the Big Apple, where the New York Giants got a head-scratcher on their hands with wide receiver Darius Slayton. Now, Slayton's been a solid contributor for the G-Men, putting up decent numbers year after year. But with his contract running out, the Giants got to figure out if he's part of their long-term plans. See, the Giants have been busy this offseason, bringing in some young blood at the receiver position. They drafted Wan'Dale Robinson, traded for Kadarius Toney, and now they got Kenny Golladay. That's a crowded wide receiver room, my friends. Slayton's a reliable target, but is he the kind of game changer that's going to elevate this Giants offense to the next level? Or are they better off letting him walk and investing in their young core? It's a classic case of what have you done for me lately? The Giants are trying to build something special here, and they got to decide if Slayton's along for the ride. All right, Philly fans, let's talk about Josh Sweat. This dude's been an absolute beast on that defensive line, wreaking havoc on quarterbacks and striking fear into the hearts of offensive coordinators everywhere. But here's the deal. He's entering the final year of his rookie contract, and the Eagles got to decide if they're going to pay him like the star he is. Now, Howie Roseman, the Eagles GM, is a magician when it comes to the salary cap, but even he's got his limits. The Eagles got a lot of mouths to feed on that roster, and with Jalen Hurts' next contract looming large, something's got to give. Sweat's a game changer, no doubt about it, but is he worth breaking the bank for? Or will the Eagles roll the dice and let him walk, hoping to find another diamond in the rough in the draft? This is a tough one, folks. I wouldn't want to be in Howie's shoes right now. Whatever decision he makes is going to have a ripple effect on that Eagles defense for years to come. Next up, we're heading down to the nation's capital, where the Washington Commanders got a tough decision to make about their ageless wonder, Bobby Wagner. Now, this dude's a first-ballot Hall of Famer, no doubt about it. 9-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champ, the whole 9 yards. But Father Time catches up to us all, and at 34 years young, Wagner ain't getting any younger. He's still got some gas left in the tank, but the Commanders got to decide if he's worth the price tag. They already paid big bucks for Jamin Davis a couple of years ago, and they just drafted Trenton Simpson in the first round. That's a lot of draft capital invested in the linebacker position. So, do they bring back Wagner for one last ride, or do they let him walk and hand the keys over to the young guns? It's a tough call, but one thing's for sure. Bobby Wagner's a future legend, and whatever decision he makes, he's going to go down as one of the greatest to ever do it. All right, Bills Mafia, let's talk about Von Miller. This dude's a walking highlight reel, a Super Bowl MVP, and one of the most feared pass rushers of all time. But here's the thing, he's coming off a torn ACL, he's going to be 35 years old, and he's got a massive cap hit next year. Now I know what you're thinking, Pat. You don't just cut a guy like Von Miller. And you're right, you usually don't. But the Bills are in a tough spot. They're right up against the salary cap. And they got a lot of young stars they gotta pay in the next couple of years, like Josh Allen and Tre'Davious White. So, do they bite the bullet and cut Miller, freeing up a ton of cap space? Or do they try to restructure his contract and keep him in Buffalo for a few more years? It's a gamble either way. If they cut him, they're losing a generational talent. But if they keep him, they're gonna have to get creative with the cap, and that could mean letting go of other key players. All right, Broncos country, let's talk about Garrett Bolis. Now, Bolis has been a rock-solid left tackle for the Broncos, protecting Drew Lock's blind side for the past few years. But here's the deal. He's entering the final year of his contract, and the Broncos gotta decide if they're gonna make him a Bronco for life. Now, Bolis is a good player, don't get me wrong, but he's also gonna be 32 years old next year. And with a new coaching staff in town, they might be looking to bring in their own guys. The Broncos have a lot of holes to fill on that roster, and they can't afford to overpay for an aging left tackle. But at the same time, you don't just find blindside protectors growing on trees. So, do they give Bolis an extension and keep him in Denver for a few more years? Or do they let him walk and roll the dice with a younger, cheaper option? All right, Chiefs Kingdom, let's talk about Trey Smith. This dude's been a road-grading monster since he stepped on the field for the Chiefs. He's a big, physical presence in the middle of that offensive line, and he's only getting better. But here's the catch. He's entering the final year of his rookie contract, and the Chiefs gotta decide if they're gonna back up the Brinks truck for him. Now, we all know the Chiefs are all about that offense, and they're gonna do whatever it takes to keep Patrick Mahomes upright and throwing dimes. But they're also tight against the cap, and they got a lot of other key players to pay, like Chris Jones and Travis Kelce. So, do they break the bank for Smith and keep their offensive line intact? Or do they let him walk and hope they can find another hidden gem in the draft? All right, Raider Nation, let's talk about Malcolm Coons. This dude's a young, up-and-coming pass rusher with a ton of potential. He showed flashes of brilliance last year, racking up 8 sacks and looking like a future star. But here's the thing. He's also been inconsistent, and the Raiders gotta decide if he's worth the risk. They already paid big bucks for Chandler Jones and Max Crosby, so they're not exactly hurting for pass rushers. But Coons has the potential to be special, and the Raiders gotta decide if they're gonna pay him now or potentially regret it later. So, do they give Coons a big money extension and lock him up long term? Or do they let him play out his rookie contract and see if he can live up to the hype? All right, Chargers fans, let's talk about Khalil Mack. This dude's a future Hall of Famer, a one-man wrecking crew, and one of the most dominant defensive players of his generation. But here's the thing. He's going to be 33 years old next year, and he's coming off a season where he had 17 sacks. Now, I know what you're thinking, Pat. 17 sacks is incredible. Why wouldn't you want to keep that guy around? And you're right, it is incredible. But the Chargers are in a tough spot. They're already paying Joey Bosa a king's ransom, and they got a lot of other young players they gotta pay, like Justin Herbert and Derwin James. So, do they give Mack another big money extension and keep their championship window open? Or do they let him walk and focus on building for the future? All right, Dolphins fans, let's talk about Jevin Holland. This dude's a ball-hawking, playmaking safety who's quickly become one of the best in the league. He's got everything you look for in a modern-day safety: speed, instincts, and a nose for the ball. But here's the catch. He's entering the final year of his rookie contract, and the Dolphins gotta decide if they're gonna make him a Dolphin for life. Now, the Dolphins are in win-now mode, and they need to keep their young core together. But they're also tight against the cap, and they got a lot of other key players to pay, like Tua Tagovailoa and Xavier Howard. So, do they back up the Brinks truck for Holland and keep their defense elite? Or do they let him walk and hope they can find another stud in the draft? There you have it, our top 10 contract decisions to watch as the 2024 NFL season approaches. Which GMs will step up and make the big moves? Who's going to be left scrambling when free agency hits? And most importantly, which teams are going to be holding the Lombardi Trophy at the end of the year? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure, it's going to be a wild ride. So buckle up, Get your popcorn ready and get ready for another exciting season of NFL football. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more NFL content. See you next time.